Welcome back to the show, everybody. We got a great one for you today. Listen to just some of these headlines. The World Economic Forum says distributed ledger technology can disrupt the traditional markets to the tune of $867 trillion. We're going to get into it. Dogecoin, is it busted? We'll talk about it. There's also a PayPal reminder if you're buying crypto through there. I think it's worth noting. And the SEC's Gary Gensler says many cryptos are securities. I've been trying to tell you about this. We're going to get into it. And then we're also going to talk about what else? XRP price. Is it consolidating? Is it crashing? Is it going to a new all-time high? Let's roll that beautiful intro and find out. Here we go.
This is Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Subscribe for new content notifications. Now, here's Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow me on Twitter at BackupBradleyAbove at the top of the screen and everything that we're talking about here today. Let's go ahead and get into this. Market cap is $2.4 trillion plus for cryptocurrencies collectively. That is one heck of a number. Right now, Bitcoin is sitting at $56,955 plus. Ethereum at $3,700, pulling back slightly from where it was earlier today and yesterday. Dogecoin now at number 4 spot. Let's talk about that because it's seen a bit of a price fall there, and we'll get into some of that news as well. Now coming in at the number 7 spot. Did you hear that? XRP at the number 7 spot, courtesy of the dereliction of duty by the SEC and intimidation tactics at my house. I would imagine that has to settle sometime soon here in the future. We're at $1.49, ladies and gentlemen. We're all 6% plus on the 24-hour. That ought to tell you where that's coming from. And we've lost 3.22% on the 7-day. And by the way, this $35 billion that a lot of people are telling us we don't have the right to talk about because they think they got all the answers. Well, we're about to talk about it some more. Shame on them. Now, here we go. $1.47 now. Currently falling like a manhole cover from the sky. I mean, I think this is looking a little bit like Dogecoin at this point. We're currently ranging between 146 and 159, but don't worry, we're going to hear from the technical analyst experts. And by the way, they have some very important information about all of this, and we all need to hear it at least. All right, now, this is where we're going today. We start right here. Elon Musk, this is coming from Crypto News 19. Elon Musk just called Dogecoin a hustle on national television. That's right. On his performance on Saturday Night Live last night, he apparently broke down in the skit, and the skit led to one peak of where the joke was going and where the skit was headed, and he absolutely said it was a hustle. People kept asking him in the skit, but what is Dogecoin? And obviously you couldn't answer it because it doesn't really have a use case, and that's what I've been asking, the two very important questions that all of us should ask no matter what we're thinking or considering investing in, which is, what does it solve? What problem does it solve? What use case does it have, right? And what partnerships do they have? There's many other questions you could ask that make sense too, but nevertheless, since then, Dogecoin has crashed a bit. And if you just look here, you see that they've gone from this range up here, just under the 70 or between 70 and 75 cents, and down into the 40-some cent range here. So experiencing a bit of an issue. I hope you didn't catch it at the top and now you're upside down. That's all I can say about that. But I think we know it is a digital pet rock. So buyer beware. All right, Michael Val 5 Links tells us, if you think the Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies you purchased through PayPal are officially yours, you better think again. When this first came out, we talked about this. We jumped down into the policy of PayPal. You can buy cryptocurrencies on the app, but you do not have the ability to send them off of the app, which means you don't have control of them. You're basically buying in at a price point, and PayPal is controlling that for you. So make sure you understand that. Okay, just a quick reminder there, but we're going to get into some major news, and it starts right here. Many crypto assets are securities, ladies and gentlemen, says the new head of the SEC, Gary Gensler. Now, I listened to a lot of people tell me that he wasn't going to do this or take this approach before getting into the SEC, and obviously that isn't true either. He is, in fact, seeing the majority of the digital asset space as digital asset securities. How will he regulate? I don't know, but this is how he's leaning in right here. And I'm not going to read you this article here, but I'm going to give you the highlight. I put out a video and you should watch it. The Road to Crypto Becoming Digital Asset Securities. Gary Gensler's utility doesn't matter. Now, you're going to hear him say it in just a couple seconds here because this was out on April 27th. This talk he did, I believe, was from 2018. So let's listen to him say it instead of listening to me tell you he said it.
Whether you go to your national legislatures and say, if somebody's raising more than a little bit of money and they're raising it, asking purchasers to buy these things early, it's probably an investment scheme and thus should be in some way protected. It doesn't have to be exactly the way you do securities law, but do not allow somebody to say, just because it's a pure utility token, no worries, this is just like a laundromat or a theater ticket. It has that attribute, but I don't know anywhere where somebody raises $1 billion for a laundromat.
So he's telling, there you go. He is telling you he doesn't care that your crypto asset is a utility token and that it in fact has utility. He says that is a security. Well, this gets interesting. So we will see what happens with the SEC lawsuit versus Ripple, because we know that I'm not going to, peel that open right this second in this video, but this is why I believe he is not, in fact, looking to back down from that case. He is looking for a resolution, but will he get it? That's the other part. Will he get it? I don't know that he does. And I could even see a scenario where Ripple gets through the gate, the Gary Gensler gate of the majority of this crypto space becoming digital asset securities in his eyes. And maybe Ripple makes it through the gate for its ultimate use for the world in the manner that it was intended. And maybe the rest of the digital asset space gets snared up, or the majority of it. We shall see. This is getting interesting. But we got more to look at. This isn't over just yet, ladies and gentlemen. Wharton's Jeremy Siegel said that the stock market will face a day of reckoning sometime this year as inflation spikes. He forecasts an uptick in inflation will force the Fed to change its accommodative policy, and that will spook the stocks. Could certainly see that happening. Now, I want to highlight Timothy Peterson here, who says the quite ambiguous warning. He could point to any dip in the next 8 months and say, see, I told you so. And he's very right, Timothy is. But I think what we really should be looking here for is something that looks a bit more than a dip, right? I'm looking for more of a 30 to 40% correction in the stocks at some point, because they are clearly overbought. But Timothy makes a fantastic point there, so I wanted to highlight him on that. So let's move to the World Economic Forum. That's right. The same World Economic Forum that in January of 2020 cited JPM coin and XRP for use in the development of the central bank digital currencies for the world as back-end settlement for inter and intra-bank settlement. That's the World Economic Forum we're talking about. Well, they're highlighting and pushing the conversation forward here and saying the World Economic Forum blockchain could disrupt $867 trillion in traditional markets. Now, that's one hell of a number. Let's take a look at some of the breakdown here. And they are talking about the idea of using blockchain distributed ledger technology. They go down here, and the important part is where they break all of this down here, right? So equity markets, 95 trillion. Debt markets, 106 trillion. Securities products, 10 trillion. Derivatives, 560 trillion. Here we see securities finance and repurchase agreements, 4 trillion. Securities lending, 2.9 trillion. Asset management fund administration, 89 trillion. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of financial products there, right? The reality here is that it's all going to be tokenized. All assets will eventually be tokenized, from stocks to bonds to commodities. At least that's the perspective of many crypto industry executives who predict that most, if not all, of modern finance will eventually run on digital rails, just to put it on the blockchain, as it were. So listen, this is the goal. This is the goal. And there is a report you can click on in the article. If you're not seeing it here, it's right here. You guys can get this article on my Twitter. Follow me there. And you can go into this. It's 100 pages. I'm not all the way through, but what I did find that I was like, okay, we can share this with everybody. There's a connection to the connection, the knee bone connected to the leg bone, the whole bit, right? So looking at this here on page 40 alone, and there's probably, what I saw in the first 40 pages is straight fire. This is happening. Right? They're not putting out 100 pages just like, we just thought we'd put it out just so everybody could read it, but we're not going to do it, right? This is where this is going, and it's not an easy task to complete. So let me start right here. They talk about clearing participants, so clearing houses like the DTCC or Australia's clearing platform, the whole bit. So looking here, clearing participants and regulators may see infrastructure providers as too systemically important. Where have we heard that before outside of this channel? Well, of recent, we heard it come out of Gary Gensler's mouth. And what was Gary Gensler talking about? The Depository Trust Clearing Corporation company. That's who he was talking about, which settles 1.6 quadrillion in derivatives every single year without fail. So this is important to see this language showing up again as too systemically important to be early movers with cutting edge technology, thereby limiting many institutions' willingness to pursue this model. So there's hesitancy, right? There's caution here. They're scared to move. But the question is, are they scared to move? Because the reality is that if you've been in this space for any length of time, the DTCC alone with other clearinghouses and other companies in the areas of industry that we're talking about here have been working for years with different entities to be able to change over because they know that they're systemically important and they don't want to leave themselves open to any kind of vulnerabilities like attack or error that exists in the current legacy systems. Now, let's move to the right of the page here. ASX, Digital Asset Chest Replacement, the Australian Securities Exchange. Are you hearing this? Is in the process of replacing its legacy post-trade system with a DLT-based system. Is this on? Hello. The Australian Securities Exchange is changing over to a DLT-based system, but it gets better. Participants will be able to communicate with the system using ISO 20022 messages over SWIFT or a web interface operationally similar to the status quo, or by hosting a DLT distributed ledger technology node, which would introduce new functionalities. The project's been underway since 2017, by the way, again, pointing to the notion that we know for years these different companies and entities in this area of industry have been working for a very long time with a plan to go live in the spring 2023 following extensive consultation with stakeholders. Well, it's at this point I want to show you a couple things, if I could. Here we see Ripple is obviously the first member focused on distributed ledger technology with what? Ripple being a part of the ISO 20022 Standards Body Committee. That's right, and they're the first and only member at this point focused on DLT, which was just highlighted as what's going to be used with the messaging language over SWIFT with all of this, which means distributed ledger technology at the very least is being consulted to Ripple about this operating measure here, right? I would go a step further with my own speculation because I've been in this space long enough to know that that's where I'm going, that this ultimately is going to have Ripple on the back end of this. And obviously at some point, 2023 or beyond, XRP will help to settle these items. That's how I see that as well. So now let's go back to the systemically important comment here and why it's so important to be careful and to know that whatever they're going to do, it has to be something that's going to work and doesn't have them running into a failing moment because the system is too big to fail. They can't allow it to have any kind of hiccup. It's got to be a smooth transition. Well, That's where we come into the idea of Gary Gensler telling us about the systemically important, right? So I believe, did we play that? I believe we did, but I don't know if I did or not. Here, let's play this right now. This is from just a couple days ago when he was in a congressional hearing. Let's listen to him answer and talk about the DTCC, which is used for clearing and settlement, just like you would over at the ASX in Australia, but the DTC now is the conversation for settlement of derivatives. Listen to this from Gary Gensler. And sorry and apologies. Thank you to HB for XRP, but the video is sideways, but the audio is clear as a bell.
Blockchain technology. What is the SEC and the DTCC? I also want to include Mr. Bodson in this. What are you all doing to evaluate the potential use of blockchain to help speed up settlements? And I'll start with you, Chairman Gensler.
What are they doing to speed up settlements? Because they're blaming GameStop and the Wall Street bets on all of this to be done and the upgrade to happen. That's the narrative. Keep listening.
So you're right that technology exists today to shorten settlement cycles, even maybe to the same day. I think there's a business model issue as to whether it's still netted, which has a lot of economic advantages. In terms of the underlying ledger technology itself, I would defer to Mr. Bodson as to whether they find it's helpful to have a distributed shared ledger or a sort of a single party ledger. And then what the role of the SEC would be is to ensure that whatever rules they're proposing has the resiliency and the important safety of a clearinghouse, because this is a systemically important clearinghouse.
Did you hear what he just said? Yeah, systemically important clearinghouse. Same thing that's being echoed here. We have to be careful what we switch over to. But that's why we have Ripple with the ISO 2022 Standards Body Committee to help out with such a thing, because they're the first member focused on switching everyone over with the new de facto modern standard for payments. And they are the first ones there to help that with the DLT changeover. So don't believe it. It's still true. This is all coming down the pipe. Now, guess what else is coming down the pipe? Price. Like we said, currently falling like a manhole cover from the sky. But is it? Or are we really consolidating here? And is the all-time high for XRP still in the works? Let's listen to what let's see what the experts are saying here. By the way, I want to showcase this person. This is Tara, Precision Trade 3. I would give her a follow. I've been watching her for quite some time here, and I really think that she's made some good calls here. And Coins Kid comes underneath and really talks and adds to the conversation here as well. And it is true. She says, told you XRP doesn't want to leave without me. 148 and 142 perfectly hit. Now that I'm strapped in, LFG, let's go. Let's, you know what, go. So shout out to Tara for that one. And I'm glad to showcase her work. It has been really, really solid with what's going on. Coins Kid, who's another fantastic analyst out here as well, says needs to see the week out above 161. So that's what we need to see. And if we don't, Coins Kid has also told us that we could see more consolidation or a rollover in price like we've seen so far this weekend, where you're seeing it slowly roll over and fall down the other way. None of us want to see it go that way, but the analysts are telling us at this point that, and it's none of this is financial advice from Tara or Coins Kid or anybody else that we cover or myself, but this is what they're sharing, and I'm so grateful for their insights because it brings me a little calm to know that these targets are being met. Here, Dark Defender even shows it again too. Shout out to Dark Defender, and I'd give him a follow. Spot on 142. We discussed short-term bearish trend on the 7th, and we said yesterday it was about the end. Yes, it will. We will start to see new Elliott waves shortly. All-time high plus will salute us. Check out this update. It is aligned with our previous targets. Third leg will be in June. So now we're looking at this. If we open this up, now we're hearing from Dark Defender here. This is our third leg here, which he sees happening in June, right? So this is a big leg up here. We'll have to see if that comes to fruition, but we are hitting those targets that were mentioned. Now, This is Crypto Wizard, another fantastic chart person who tells us here, XRBTC kissed the support target and it should be moving bullish soon. Nothing changed in the price action. XRP is still very bullish regardless of the consolidation and the rollover in price at this point, right? It is just waiting to get the breakout similar to what we saw happen with Ethereum today. So very, very interesting remarks from all of these analysts, which are really in alignment. Now let's talk about the circulating supply, okay? Now, first of all, we should keep a conversation going where we're not telling people we're not allowed to talk about things. That's just nonsense, right? We're allowed to talk about anything that we think makes sense and speculate on it and try to find answers to it and see if we can dismiss it. Now, I showed yesterday that on CoinPeprika and Live Coin Watch that the total circulating supply is still at 46 billion on those particular platforms. However, I can confirm that yesterday the total circulating supply was at 35 billion, just as it is here on CoinMarketCap. Now, there have been many others out here on Twitter that say that we do not have the right to talk about this, that this is not legitimate. And you know what? I don't know what the answer is, but I don't think it's wrong that we continue to look for answers. XRP Scan here noted and very respectfully offered the suggestion that they believe that this could be a glitch in reporting. Recently, Ripple deprecated their data API and the peer supply data was not published this week, causing market cap websites to fall back to earliest known supply from 2016. If that's true, then why didn't all the platforms fall back to that? That's the first problem. And number two to all of this, then why is the rich list been updated 3 minutes ago and it's at 34 billion? I'm pretty sure We'd Say When knows what the hell he's talking about. And he certainly knows what he's doing. That's why he's the head of XRP Labs. So at the end of the day, this here is pretty interesting to me that this question is not over. And then you have to start asking yourself, if this is in fact something that is legitimate, and I take We'd Say When's rich list stats as very legitimate, it is an accurate count of the accounts that are held and how many wallets and how many XRP are in the total of all these different leveled accounts. I take this as accurate. And in fact, if it is, and I don't see any reason why to assume that it isn't, then it's in line with CoinMarketCap. It's in line with Coinbase that was showing that yesterday when I looked at it. So for me, I have to ask, this is still a viable topic here to discuss and why is it not right? Could this be something to do with the SEC and an agreed settlement? And if 10 billion truly is missing, then you have to ask yourself another question. If 10 billion's missing from a couple days ago, then why is the market cap still the same? Market cap still the same, but 10 billion is not available and it's off this off ledger, some kind of which way, right? How'd that happen? Is there a settlement involved in making this happen? Is it just actually a glitch? I don't know the answer, but I can tell you this. I don't think there's a damn thing wrong with us asking the questions because I don't think it's truly been answered by an official yet. Why hasn't Ripple come out and said anything about the discrepancy? I politely ask anyone like Brad Garlinghouse or Monica Long or anyone to come out and discuss what's going on here. Maybe We'd Say When could clear this up and tell us what it is. Maybe it is a glitch. I don't know. But whatever it is, I think it's worth talking about and it's worth pursuing to try to get an answer for it so we can all understand exactly what's happening. Because if the market cap's still the same and the numbers off, maybe that does lean into the idea that it's a glitch. Maybe it does lean into the idea also that maybe 10 billion went to the Treasury and it's being held in a seized manner. I don't know that either. I don't know. I love to speculate, but I could go a lot of places with this. But the place I'd really like to see it go is I'd like to see Ripple speak on it. And maybe we could all politely tag them and ask them to speak on it. That's going to do it for me. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe. Leave a comment below. Make sure you share with somebody you know. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. And remember, it's tax time, ladies and gentlemen. Clinton Donnelly is the foremost authority on crypto taxes, cryptotaxaudit.com. There's plenty of services there. He teaches you how to be a better steward of your own crypto taxes. He's got plenty of learning tools for that. And by the way, his becoming a member is very inexpensive, and it's much cheaper than an IRS audit. And by the way, there's a huge weekly check, and he will let you know in 6 months in advance if, in fact, the IRS is looking to audit you. So you will be prepared if you're a member with his plan. So make sure you check that out as well, and I'll catch all of you on the next one.